Good evening, folks. Tonight I'm smoking a First Responder Charlie. It's a Connecticut they put out. Took the foot band off already before I started the video. I forgot, but that's what we got tonight. It smells like it's spicy, but definitely just sweet tobacco. Don't smoke a whole lot of Connecticut, so we'll see. Nothing wrong with them. I just like them a little stronger, but we will see what happens. Hope y'all are doing good. So Wednesday night. I'll put this out Thursday morning. Got a little B cut on there. And go ahead and light this joker up. See what we got. So tonight, I want to talked a little bit of last time about first responders and why they don't say more when they're having issues. There you go. We'll see how that comes. Man, so far pretty good. Kind of creamy, vanilla. Man, I don't know why I don't smoke more of these Connecticut's, but hey, variety is the spice of life, right? That's what they say. So, something else I forgot to talk about. Um, been in law enforcement a long time, and man, there have been a lot of dudes that have taken their own lives and attempted to, but most of them pretty successful, unfortunately. Um, a lot. Fortunately, nobody I've been real close with. Very lucky and appreciative of that. But people I knew pretty well, worked with, things like that, that it kind of surprised you. It took you back a little bit. Um, Statistic I heard on that same podcast is I think they said about 400 officers a year take their own lives. But they pointed out that that's just active members because there's no reporting for retired people, and the estimate is more like 1,000 if you include the retired guys. And I did a whole video on how this job is. I think it's titled uh, "It's What You Do, It's Not Who You Are," and I think so many of us get wrapped up in it's just not police work. It's firefighters. It's the military. It could be anything that kind of has its own identity and like that, and some camaraderie and some I don't know what to say, like a team, and especially with first responders in the military, you're kind of like a closed community. Unfortunately, you end up a lot of times being friends only with other people in that field. Um, I've tried not to do that, but over the years, it hadn't worked out. We'll just say that. A lot of people don't have the same views, the same humor. They don't share experiences. They don't have an experience what you have, so it's hard for them to get your where you're coming from. No fault of their own doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just it's hard to be friends with somebody like that that doesn't get you. But um, just my experience with it. That's all. Other people may have, and I know people have, but you know. But the video I put out said this is your job is what you do. It's not who you are. And I remember one of the comments I got. It's like you didn't even watch the video. It's a young fella. When I looked at his little profile, and he said, I'll just tell you, I'm trying to remember it because I didn't look at it again, but it said wrong in all caps with exclamation points, like I'm wrong. Um, I am. I think he said I am I don't do commercial diving. I am a commercial diver, was his comment, which, I mean, I get what he's saying there, but I think he's missing the point, and apparently he didn't watch the video or listen to it. Because just because you do something for a living doesn't mean that's who you are. And what he does for a living is commercial diving. I get that, but that's not who you are. That's not your whole identity. And I could have been an ass and just deleted them or whatever, but I didn't. I just said, "Hey, man, I'm glad you're happy with what you do." Like I said, he was a young man. The little profile picture looked like a dude probably in his early 20s, but I don't know. I have no idea. And so I was that age once, and you really don't know shit, but you think you do. You think you got all the answers, and I don't blame them. That's just human nature. That's what we do as men, especially. We know it all. Can't tell us nothing. But I said, dude, I said, I'm glad you like what you do, but there'll become a day when you can't do it no more. And believe me, I imagine I haven't done it. I'm not a diver. I've never done any kind of diving, anything like scuba diving. So I don't know, but there'll come a time when you can't do that for a living no more. And if you wrap your whole identity into being this diver, you're in for a long life, because there's a lot of life past that you're going to have to deal with, that you can't do it no more physically. And God forbid you get an injury sometime early in your career. You never know what's going to happen. So if you wrap your whole identity up into some job, you're going to be in for a hurting when that comes to an end. And a lot of people, their identity is tied in. I'm just going to talk about police officers because that's what I do. Your identity is tied into that because everybody, your family, and everybody kind of, it's a cool job, and they make all these TV shows about it, and it's not as cool as what people think it is. I assure you, it does have some cool aspects to it, but to me, what I got out of it was more of a rewarding type thing and helping people. But people go into it for all kind of reasons, but that really doesn't matter why you went into it. But what you have to accept is one day you can't do it no more. And if your whole identity is wrapped up into a job, no matter what it is, one day when that job goes away, because I assure you, the day you walk out the door, there'll be people, you may or may not have a little party, and you go to, but I'll give you my example. I didn't want no kind of party. I didn't want nothing at work. I had a couple close friends in my squad. Basically my squad, we went to lunch on my last day, and then my partner took me home. And that was it. I didn't want, they wanted to have a party and do all this stuff. I didn't want it, I'm like, I'm good. I just want to get out. But when you go home, that quiet, that next day, the first few days you feel like you're on vacation. It's kind of weird. You're like, okay, this is pretty cool. I feel like I'm off, but pretty soon you realize your phone isn't ringing no more. Because with what I did, I guess if you're in patrol, you may not get that, but with what I did with that human trafficking stuff, your phone rang constantly. You're always getting phone calls, getting patrol trying to get advice. Hey, I come across this thing. Is it something you're interested in? Just about every day, you got a phone call at least. And a lot of days, because it was just my partner and I doing it at this large agency, I think Duval County is 840 square miles. So, and it's pretty populated. So we got a lot, but with just the two of us, we got a lot of calls. So we were pretty busy. And then all of a sudden that stops. But not just the phone calls, just even the people you worked with. You really don't hear from them. It's weird. And I don't blame them, because I did the same thing when other people left during my time. I feel bad about it, but I never really reached out to them. I didn't, hey, how you doing? I didn't, because we all got things going on in our lives. You got work, you got family, especially towards the end. A lot of people, you got teenagers and just a lot of stuff going on. Kids in college, you're traveling and this and that. It's just a crazy time. by the time you get old enough to where your peers are retiring and you just don't have time. But I could see where when people leave, because I swore up and down. I remember when I left, they tried to get me to kind of burn my leave. I had over a year's worth of leave, and they said, "Why don't you just work a few days a week and keep working?" Because my partner was also retiring, and you can help train these new people. And I didn't want to. I was like, "No, no, I'm out. I'm not doing nothing else." And I gave it. I was going from September till January, and we were pretty busy in that time. With I think we had Hurricane Matthew came by here that year, so I was busy with hurricane stuff at the house, buying generators and all that crap. And then you had my birthday and Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and the kids were in college. They came home in the beginning of December, and we're home all of December. So I was busy, and people were around and high fiving, and that's awesome. And come January, everybody went back to work and school. My wife was still working, and I'm just sitting at home going, "What the hell? What am I gonna do?" And long story short, I ended up going back to JSO as a retiree doing some stuff. And then that was before I came. Eventually, I ended up where I'm at now. But you know, if you don't have something like that to go to, and you don't have um, a bunch of friends and people to hang out with, everybody I knew was still working. It was weird. It was like it was kind of weird. And I don't know how to explain it, but I guess I was too young when I left. I was eligible, and I'm glad I did at the time. Looking back, I think I should have stayed a few more years, but what happens is, I don't want to go into it. Basically, they have this drop plan, and you get in, and then at the end of the 5 years, you have to leave. You can't get out of it. Um, the only way you could stay is if you got appointed to an upper position, and you could get out of the drop and basically keep working for a while. But for a guy like me, you're out. Once your time's up, you're out. You got no choice. So I got in too early. I probably should have waited, but hindsight's 2020. I'm on a good spot now, and I'm happy. But at the time, I was like, God dang, I messed up. And I could see where if you had a few things go south for you in that time, you end up getting divorced or you're having some other issues, and I could see where you might consider um, eating a bullet. I get it. And suicidal ideation, I guess they call it, is a thing. Because you have no your job, your whole life is tied up in this identity, and all of a sudden it's gone. And not because you did something wrong, not it's done. And you just have to have a plan when you leave, and you have to understand that this careers that we choose in these fields, while it's very rewarding and it's fun and it's the adrenaline and all that kind of stuff, that's another thing you miss that you don't realize because you try to do. I think I did real estate for a short time, and I made a lot of money for hardly any work. I don't care what they tell you. That's a racket, dude. That real estate, that's a racket. The money I made for the little bit of work I did, but I hated it. I hated it. I couldn't do it. No matter how much money. That shows you I'm not financially motivated. I mean, everybody is to a point, but it wasn't enough. I mean, I don't care how much I was making. It wasn't worth it to me, for a variety of reasons. But I ended up going back to what I knew. Went back to JSO and ended up back in law enforcement in a different capacity. That's much less demanding than a sheriff's office. We'll say that. Still a lot of work, but in a different way. But yeah, I think people don't realize that when you leave, it's going to be a transition, and there's nobody to talk to. There's no when you're leaving, they don't tell you about, hey, you understand that you might struggle with some of that. They don't tell you none of that. Everybody's high fiving you, man. You're so lucky, man. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna hang out and not do shit and grow your hair long and smoke weed and all this shit? People grow a big old beard, and yeah, that's all fun for a short time, and then you realize that it ain't all that cracked up to be. You miss that adrenaline. You miss the people. I don't really miss the agency so much because there was a lot of horse shit, but you miss the people. And policemen are some funny bastards, and they're fun to work with. And you don't have that. It's quiet at home by yourself, and you just have to have something. I guess my point is you need to have something to turn to. You need to have something to keep you busy. It's probably like that in any job, but even at the end, my last day, I did some crazy stuff. My last day, I had equipment because you had to turn it in. The last day, I had all my equipment. Maybe one day I'll tell that story, but I did something that I'm like, this is the story where the guy on his last day gets killed. And you're like, what were you thinking? Why were you not taking? But it's that last time that you're gonna feel that little bit of rush, and it's dangerous and it's screwed up, and you could mess up your whole life or die. But God, it's I can't explain it. You can't get it. That's part of the problem doing these other jobs. I tried. I'm like, this is you just didn't get that anywhere else. But anyway, I guess long story short, find you something that you can fill your time with. Find you something. Find you your own mission, a different path, and let it go. Um, I'm ready to let it go now. I've got a couple things I'm trying to do before I leave, but I'm done. If tomorrow this ended, this is my last rodeo, and I'm sitting at home. This time, I'm not doing nothing else. Um, what I ought to do is go get a job at a liquor store or something like that down the street, but I'm not doing anything else in law enforcement. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but I think my time has passed, and I'm gonna leave it to the young guys like my son. It's not for me anymore. But this cigar is pretty good. It's definitely it's a Connecticut, mild. If you got somebody, some folks that may be into this first responder, or even if you're not, um, they're not a big cigar smokers, get them one of these. It's the First Responder Charlie, it's called, and it's definitely mild. I think I read it was mild to medium. To me, it's pretty mild. Um, it'd be good in the morning with some coffee. Um, like I said, it's got a little bit of spice, a little bit of nuttiness. Not peanut butter, more like roasted peanuts. Like you get the little can and the little planter and open the bag or something. That's what it reminds me of. And a little bit of vanilla. My wife buys a million of these freaking candles, man. She's like the candle queen. We always have one every night. She's burning a candle, and I prefer kind of the vanilla type candles, so that's what she leans towards. And those kind of flavors, I don't like real sweet, and some of them, but it reminds me a little bit of that. By no means is it that strong, but it kind of reminds you of that. Creamy vanilla. Yeah, pretty good though. Give it a try. First Responder Charlie. And this Michters small batch, okay? This is the US one. Everybody's probably had this. it's pretty good, pretty cost efficient. I read that they mix 20 barrels at a time to make each one of these batches, and so it's kind of, I guess they call it a small batch. It's definitely, it kind of goes with the cigar. It's like let me see, it's 94 91.4 proof, so it's not real proofy. It's kind of got a little bit of spice. To me, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of toasted oak, like a toasted, like a kind of a little, not burnt, but kind of like that. Yeah, I haven't had. I've had all the. I've had all the sour mash is good. I need to get a bottle of that because my wife seems to like sour mash whiskey. So I'm gonna get me a bottle of that. Another one. Have her try it. She liked the George Dickel's sour mash. So they also have a rye. They're all about the same price ish. They have definitely some upper end bottles. I have not had any of those. Um, I've heard they're good, but I just, sometimes the cost, I just don't want to spend it on something when you like these. But one day I'll get one, just not today. This is pretty good. If you just want something to sip on in the evening, get you one of these for sure. Like I said, I do like the sour mash. It's pretty good. The rye's, pretty good, but I kind of think I like the sour mash of the three. But this one also, I always have a bottle of this, so that tells you something. My theory: would you buy it again? That's your kind of your test. Do you like it? Would you buy it again? If you say no, then you probably didn't like it all that much. But anyway, guys, take care of yourselves. Remember what's important. It's your family, it's your kids, it's your grandkids. All this other stuff is just bull crap, and I hate to say it, but nobody gives a crap. Your agency, the people you worked with, if you never hear from them when you leave, no fault of their own, but everybody's got their own stuff going on. Don't get your feelings hurt because it's not unusual. I hear from a few, my buddy Eddie, and that's about it. Hear from everybody, people occasionally, of course, usually when they need something. But they all got their own lives going on. They're all busy. Everybody's got their shit going on. They just don't have time. And most of us went into other jobs. So you're busy with another job. It ain't like you're sitting around the house, Maybe one day when we're all retired, we'll reconnect. Maybe, I don't know. But just let it go. I have a good time hanging out with the wife. One day I'll talk about that. We like a lot of the same things, so we have a great time together. And my buddy Eddie, and that's about it. That's all I need. And anyway, you guys have a good evening. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves, and have a great rest of the week. We'll see what the weekend brings, and y'all stay safe.